Top diplomats from the world's 20 largest economies are meeting face-to-face for the first time in 2 years, hoping for a global solution to the economic and health crisis caused by COVID-19. The G20 meeting in the Italian city of Matera is bringing together foreign ministers from places like the United States, Japan and India. Others, like China, are opting to join virtually. The G20 accounts for more than 80% of the world's GDP. Lucy Hoff joins us live now from Brussels for more. Lucy, the new Biden administration is leading calls for a multilateral response to COVID-19.
That's right. As you say, this is the first meeting of foreign ministers from the G20 in 2 years, and it's certainly the first time that the new US Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, has met with this many of his global counterparts. He is very much leading efforts to ensure there is equitable distribution of vaccines, saying in order to bring the pandemic to an end, we must get more vaccines to more places, ensuring that vaccines make their way to places where there are currently shortages. The focus on that very much on Africa. There has been criticism just before this meeting got underway last night from the WTO, saying that G20 nations needed to do more to ensure that trade barriers for vaccines and COVID-19 medicines were removed, that there was the free flow of vaccines from wealthier nations, such as here in Europe, to low and middle income nations, particularly in the African Union. There has also been criticism from the German Foreign Minister Heiko Maas on his way in to the meeting earlier on today, accusing Russia and China of essentially trying to to boost their geopolitical influence by offering their vaccines to the global community, saying that this was not a time for such geopolitical posturing.
Lucy, another pressing issue, climate change. The grouping is hoping to perhaps move forward on climate change.
Yeah, I mean, this is a huge group of nations that are meeting. This is a much bigger group than met as part of that G7 summit earlier on this month, making up 80% of the world's GDP, 75% of its global trade. So this is a real chance for nations to boost multilateralism when it comes to challenges like climate change. And that has certainly been the message from the Italian Foreign Minister Luigi Di Maio today, talking about the need to make firm commitments on achieving net zero by 2050 as under those commitments that will be reaffirmed in that UN climate conference later on this year in the UK. This is also a chance for nations who take climate change very seriously, such as the US, such as nations in the European Union, to sit opposite counterparts from nations like Brazil, from Russia, who perhaps haven't made robust commitments, to put pressure on those nations to ensure that they do up their commitments in time for that COP summit later on this year. But analysts saying here that the chance of any real concrete commitments coming out of today's meeting are unlikely, given how many nations we've got round the table.
Lucy, thank you very much for that. Lucy Hoff there in Brussels.